next thing I'm going to work on is the caps lock. It doesn't, when you press it down, that should activate and lock it in place. But I'm not really sure what's going on there. Is there a spring missing? So I have to do a little bit of research now, look at the mechanism, try and working out why doesn't that lock in place. Works nice. Obviously on the other side it's just lifting it. But yeah, that's the next puzzle to solve. So here we are again. Quick update now on the progress of the shift lock mechanism, which wasn't working in the previous part of the video. I studied this mechanism for ages, and if you see down there, you can see everything seems to be working, but it wasn't holding and locking the shift mechanism in place. And I did at one point wonder if I had to do any kind of adjustment with this section here, because if I do this section, this nut here, if I raise that up, obviously it affected the arm here, and I thought, oh, maybe the whole, you know, sort of latch is meant to fit underneath that plate there. So I learnt very quickly, no, don't touch that, because that affects the case alignment. So I reset that. I have no problems with the case alignment now, but it was interesting also to look very carefully. The light's not very good. I wonder if I can use a torch. Because what I did notice is that there are, on this side, you can see when you lift it up and down, gosh, I'll try and do it here, that's better. If I lift it up and down, you can see there's a remnants of a washer under there, and likewise on the surface of that nut there. And on the other side, looking at it, again, if I lift it on that side, there's a bit of a remnant of a washer there. I wonder if I could show that a little bit better. One of the surfaces, and I think, yeah, this washer is not too bad. But going back to this one, I mean, really, there's really not much. Well, it's not too bad, I guess. It's wearing out though, and I just actually wondered if I should replace that. So I will look into that at some point. But in the end, I was really stumped. I couldn't even work out. I mean, I really thought perhaps there was a spring missing from here. Because when I activated the shift lock mechanism, it seemed to just barely balance on that plate under there. I can, just down here to the left, there's a plate. And in the end, I put out a little video to the Facebook Antique Typewriters maintenance group. And almost immediately, I had help from a lovely chap called Brian, who sent me, well, he advised me that the chassis of this Superba is an Underwood universal chassis. And he said that would help me if I was continuing to search for information. And he sent me a great link to a PDF file which had some instructions on adjusting this mechanism. And from that, and also getting help from a lovely chap called James, again, I think they're both experienced typewriter guys, they led me to these two screws here. So this top screw behind the plate, if I go back there, this plate here, again the light's terrible, that the locking mechanism fits under that thing there, is adjustable. And it seems really obvious now. I should have really traced the mechanics of it back to this section here, these two screws. The top screw, when you undo it, there is a kind of, how would I describe it? There's a slotted space in that plate that allows you to move it up or down. And I think this is a bit like a fixing screw at the bottom, you know, to clamp it in place after you've adjusted it. And that's exactly what I did. But I was pulling it up. I pulled it up as far as it would go and tightened it up. And I still couldn't get this darn mechanism to work until James explained to me, no, you don't need to, you shouldn't be lifting it up. You should be adjusting it so that that plate there, goes lower, not up. And of course, once I did that, look at that, it works perfectly. So I do feel, oh, sorry, it's balancing on this turntable at the moment, but I do feel a bit of an idiot because, well, I'm not an idiot, that's a bit hard. But once you realise the mechanism and how it works, it's a case of pushing it down. And of course, then that tiny little lip, which I thought had worn out, locks underneath that plate because it's a bit lower. And of course, the balance and weight of the carriage is then being forced upwards, which I thought needed some kind of spring. So I'm really, really pleased to see that what was a very simple adjustment has fixed that. And I originally thought I was going to have to file something down on that catch mechanism. So enormous thanks to Brian and James for their help on that site. They came back so quickly that I was able to resolve it at the end of a day when, you know, I've spent quite a long time working on this and getting, well, a little bit frustrated, being the operative word there. So I'm really, really pleased to have got that done. And now I've resolved a lot of the issues on here. Look, I even made a little list of what I've done so far, a to-do list. Fix the ribbon reverse, check, done that. Clean the segment and the chassis, clean the type slugs, replace the paper bell rollers, and they work really, really well. I'm super pleased with those. They roll up and down. I can't do this now. So look, they work really nicely. Fix the ribbon guide, which I've done there. And that works really, really well. It didn't cost me a penny. It was with something I found at home, and that's a 1 in a million, having something that fit that so perfectly. And of course, I've realised, because I've got a ribbon cover for this machine, it doesn't matter if it looks brass at all. So it works, and that's the main thing. What else have I got to do? Clean the feed rollers and platen. Yeah, that's going to be my next challenge. Is getting the, I really like to try and get the platen out, and I'm hoping that I just need to undo the knobs at each end and maybe it will lift out, but I've got to do a bit more research into that. But I would really like to clean properly inside there and check out those rollers. I know I could do it from underneath, but it's really tight and awkward. You notice on my keyboard there are some missing paint on some of the letters there. And again, I have to research what's the best kind of paint. Do I try and apply it with a little toothpick? I don't know, but I think it would be nice to try and touch that up a little bit. So, and I think actually the only problem I have is quotation marks up here is missing one. Look, that stumped me initially. I thought that was an apostrophe initially. The E, the D, a little bit of the S, and I think that's it. It's not really massive problem there. And I think once I do that, that is this machine, in my book, fully restored. Everything else works on it. Maybe a touch of oil on the carriage, and just a polish or clean up of the casings. Luckily the decals are in amazing condition, so I will be really, really careful with that. And to restore the case, the handles or the lock is a bit dodgy on the case, and I'd like to do that as a project. But for a free gift of this beautiful machine, I'm so pleased with where I am now. So updates will follow on the platen rollers and the lettering at some point. But that's the end of this particular series of mechanical fixes on this machine. Thank you.